ones who dream and build. We're the ones who dream and build. Future makers, we're the thrill. Future makers, we're the thrill. Innovating, changing lives. Innovating, changing lives. Together we will always rise. Future makers, let's unite. Building tomorrow, shining bright. Ideas grow and dreams take flight. Future makers, we ignite. Future makers collective. Let's make it real.
Chapter 6, Nicomachean Ethics and Modern Concepts. Aristotle is an ancient Greek philosopher. He attempted to explain what is good. All humans' activities aim at good, every art and human injury, and similarly, every action and pursuit is thought to aim at some good. And for this reason, the good has been right to declare at which all things aim. That is Nicomachean Ethics, chapter 2, verse 2. In simple terms, this means that everything we do is aimed at achieving everything good, whether it's a skill we learn, something we study, or an action we take. All of these are done with the goal of reaching out a good outcome. So Aristotle is saying that the idea of good is what guides all of our activities and choices. For example, if someone studies hard for a test, their goal is to do well and achieve a good grade. The effort they put into studying is aimed at reaching this good outcome, which is their success on the test. This shows how all actions like studying are directed towards achieving something good.
Both the many and the cultivate call it happen and suppose that living well and doing well are the same as being happy. Nicomachean Ethics 1:4. Example, someone might feel happy when they have a good job, strong relationship, and achieve their goal. They say this success and will live life as the same things as being truly happy.
Now, such a thing as happiness above all else is held to be for this we choose, always for itself and never for the sake of something else, but honor, pleasure, reason, and every virtue we choose indeed for themselves. But we choose them also for the sake of happiness, judging that by means of them we shall be happy. Happiness, on the other hand, no one chooses for everything other than itself. So, for example, the goal of academic achievement, like pursuit of happiness, pursuit of honor, pursuit of pleasure, pursuit of virtue, and happiness as the ultimate goal. So, he highlights a key distinction in human motivation and the nature of happiness. Aristotle argues that happiness is unique because it is the only thing we pursue purely for its own sake. Unlike other goals or virtues, which we pursue as means to achieve happiness. To illustrate Aristotle's idea that happiness is pursued for its own sake, while other goals like honor, pleasure, or virtue are pursued both of them their own sake as means to achieve happiness. Let's consider two concrete examples, the goal of academic achievement. So, in pursuit of happiness, imagine a student who is deeply committed to their studies. For this student, happiness represents the ultimate goal. They aim to achieve a sense of fulfillment and contentment through their educational journey. Next is pursuit of honor. The student also values honor, such as recognition from peers and awards. While they value the honor for its own sake, they also see it as a means to feel accomplished and happy. The honor they receive is not merely an end in itself, but is valued because it contributes to their sense of happiness and self-worth. Next is pursuit of pleasure. The student seeks pleasure in their studies, like enjoying the learning process or finding satisfaction in solving complex problems. This pleasure is appreciated for itself, but it is also pursued because it enhances their overall happiness by making their academic life more enjoyable.
Pursuit of virtue. The students strive to act with virtues such as diligence, integrity, and perseverance. They value this virtue both for their intrinsic worth of because they believe that embodying those virtues will lead to a more fulfilling and happy life. Happiness as an ultimate goal. In this scenario, the student primary goal is happiness. They pursue academic achievement not just for the sake of the award or recognition, but because achieving happiness and fulfillment through their education is that matter most of them. All the other goals, honor, pleasure, and virtue, are pursued in part because they believe these will contribute to their overall happiness. Aristotle point is clear in this example. Happiness is ultimate aim and chosen for itself, not as a means of something else. His contrast, honor, pleasure, and virtue are valued both for their own sake and for their contribution to achieving happiness. The student commitment to their studies exemplifies how these secondary goals are pursued, which the expectation that they will lead the ultimate goals of happiness.
So to continue, it is the activities that express virtue that control happiness and the contrary activities that control its contrary by Nicomachean Ethics. So Aristotle emphasizes that our happiness is directly influenced by whether our actions express virtue or not. To live a truly happy life, we need to ensure that our activities and choices reflect moral excellence. Imagine you are working on a project with a tight deadline and you realize that a mistake you made could jeopardize the entire project. Being honest and showing integrity, you decide to confess the error to your boss and you work on correcting it. Even though it might be stressful and it could actually affect your reputation. By doing so, you are acting virtuously because you are upholding honesty and your responsibility. Now, imagine you choose to cover up the mistake, hoping that no one would notice it. You might even shift the blame onto a colleague. In the short term, you avoid immediate discomfort and potential criticism. However, this dishonesty can lead to several negative outcomes. Aristotle's point is illustrated by these scenarios. Acting with integrity or virtue leads to true happiness and personal satisfaction, while deceit and dishonesty, contrary to virtue, ultimately lead to unhappiness and stress. Virtuous actions support long-term well-being, whereas contrary actions undermine it.
So what is virtue? Virtue refers to a trait or quality deemed to morally good and value as a foundation for a good moral behavior. In philosophy, particularly in ethic traditions like those of Aristotle, virtue is often defined as a habitual excellence of character or a disposition to act in ways that promote human flourishing and the well-being of others. Virtue is typically involved acting in accordance with reason, finding a balance between extremes, and cultivating qualities such as courage, honesty, kindness, justice, and wisdom. It is not just about performing good actions but developing a character that
consistently choose what is right and just. The concept of virtue can vary somewhat between cultures and philosophically systems, but it generally points to the development of moral excellence in both truth and action.
There are two types of virtue: intellectual virtues of moral virtues. So, intellectual virtue is like wisdom are developed through education and experience over time. So, moral virtues such as courage and temperance are developed through habitual practice of good behavior. So, Aristotle explorations of virtue and happiness emphasize that all human actions are direct towards achieving some good, with happiness being the ultimate goal. But intellectual and moral virtues play crucial roles in achieving a fulfilling life with intellectual virtues and guide through learning, and moral virtues developed through habit and consistent practice.
To continue with of Nicomachean Ethics, Chapter 2, Verse 1. Virtue then being of two kinds, intellectual and moral. Intellectual virtue in the main owes its birth and growth to teaching, or for which reason it requires experience and time, while moral virtue comes about as a result of habit. So that is Nicomachean Ethics, chapter 2, verse 1. So, according to Aristotle, there are two kinds of virtue. The first one is intellectual virtue.
So let's discuss the chapter 7, when technology and humanity cross. First, let me introduce you to the UDHR, or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was created in the aftermath of World War II to outline the fundamental rights and freedom which all human beings are inherently entitled. The UDHR represents a universal recognition that all people, regardless of nationality, race, gender, religion, or any other status, are born free and equal in dignity and rights. So, UDHR represents every human has inherent dignity and rights that form the foundation for freedom and justice and peace. Let's discuss the first article. The first article states that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reasons and conscience and should act towards one another in the spirit of brotherhood. This just means that every person, regardless of background, is entitled to the same level of respect and same fundamental rights. These rights includes personal freedom and right to live with dignity. So it also tells us universal equality and the responsibility to treat others with kindness and respect. The second article states, or Article 2 states, everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedom set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political and other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. So, this means that we are all entitled with the rights and freedom set forth in this declaration without discrimination of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or status. And also, no one should face discrimination, and every person has equal access to rights and freedom. The third article, or Article 3, states that everyone has the rights to life, liberty, and security of person. This means that this guarantee us the protection of one's physical well-being, and then safety and personal freedom. Also, this just means that the fundamental rights to life and safety for every individual. The fourth article, no one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. So, this article bans all forms of forced labor, human trafficking, and exploitation. This just means that this article is for freedom from slavery and forced labor. Next is the Article 5, which states that no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. This article ensures the protection of individuals from physical or mental harm by authorities or other individuals. Or, in short, this is the protection from torture and degrading treatment. Article 6 states that everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as person before the law. Article 6 means every person should be seen as a legal individual with rights and obligations regardless of where they are in the world. In short, legal recognition and equal treatment under the law. The Article 7 states that all are equal before the law, are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. This guarantees us that all individuals should have access to justice regardless of their background. In short, equality before the law and equal legal protection for everyone. So those article emphasizes the core principles of human dignity, equality, and fairness. They protect individuals from abuse such as discrimination, slavery, torture, and legal injustice. Together, they outline the basic rights every person should be afforded in any society, regardless of technological and societal changes. In the context of technology, these articles remind us that human rights should remain a priority as we advance, ensuring that people are not marginalized or exploited by new systems such as AI or automation. So, Article 1 to 7 just states that everyone is entitled to life, liberty, equality, and recognition before the law, regardless of race, gender, religion, or status. They are also protected from torture and slavery.
The quote goes, as machines become human-like, humans risk becoming machine-like. This quote captures the tension between human dependence on technology and the potential for this reliance to diminish essential human qualities. This idea touches on several societal challenges, and one of it is the instant gratification. The constant availability of technology, smartphones, social media, streaming services has fostered a culture of instant gratification. People now expect quick responses, fast entertainment, and immediate results. This This can impair patience and delay gratification, reducing our ability to focus on long-term goals or engage in meaningful, sustained effort. Over time, this can also affect mental health, as people may become increasingly anxious or dissatisfied when they can't access immediate rewards. Ultimately, the blurring of these lines between humans and machines challenges us to consider how technology can be both a tool for advancement and a potential threat to our cognitive, emotional, and social well being. Striking a balance using technology to enhance our lives while maintaining our human essence is the key.
Joy's central concern is that in our pursuit of technological progress, we risk creating systems or entities with capabilities that exceed human limitations, thus potentially sidelining humanity itself. He points to the possibility of self-replicating nanobursts of genetically engineered organisms that could go awry, evolving in ways we can't predict or contain. Joy suggests we should slow down and reconsider our approach to developing and deploying these technologies, weighing potential long-term risk over short-term gains. The essay raises ethical and existential questions about humanity, role in the future if we continue in the current trajectory or technological advancement without restraint.
So, the dangers of unchecked technologies. First is self-replicating technologies. Example, artificial intelligence or AI systems like neural networks can modify themselves, leading to unpredictable outcomes. Second example is nanotechnology or self-replicating nanobots could exhaust resources or harm ecosystems. Biotechnology, genetically modified organisms or GMOs can propagate and alter ecosystems. 3D printing, self-replicating 3D printers can produce harmful objects or weapons. Autonomous robots or self-replicating robots can adapt and evolve, potentially leading to loss of control. Second is unintended consequences. So in social media, algorithm-driven echo chambers contribute to polarization and misinformation. Climate change. Unchecked industrialization leads to environmental degradation and global warming. Nuclear power. Accidents like Fukushima Daiichi highlights risk of uncontrolled nuclear energy. GMOs or the genetically modified organisms are the unintended gene flow alters ecosystem and affect biodiversity. The cryptocurrency, its energy consumption and market volatility raise concerns. And lastly, moral dangers. So, example of it is surveillance capitalism. Unregulated data collection threatens privacy and autonomy. The AI bias. Algorithms perpetuate existing social inequalities and discrimination. The gene editing. Unethical use of CRISPR technology raises concerns about human enhancement. Cyber warfare. Unregulated cyber attacks target civilians and critical infrastructure. Autonomous weapons. Lack of human oversight in AI-powered warfare raises ethical concerns. Those examples illustrates the potential risk and moral implications associated with emerging technologies. Addressing these concerns requires responsible innovation, regulation, and ongoing ethical discussions.